Wow, you picked my video. Cool. One thing I gotta explain to this. Today is going to only be the natural gas hookup. First, we'll explain the gas hookup, the electrical hookup. We'll actually run the generator and see if it can do what it can do. Let me do a little backdrop. I live in a 2-story house. I have an attached garage. I also have a deep freezer in the garage, and of course your refrigerator in your kitchen in the main house. I also have a 2-system central air unit. I have a 4-ton unit that runs the downstairs and a 2.5-ton that runs the upstairs. First things first, you're gonna have a select gas type. Obviously there is the propane gas and the natural gas. It's already set for natural gas. You also said select fuel type. Well, let me back up a little bit. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Duromax tri-fuel. This generator can be run on gasoline, propane, and natural gas. So let me get that out of the way. But back to it, like I was saying, so the fuel type, you're either going to have gasoline. This is set up for the store when you're not using it. You just leave it in this position. Of course, here's the natural gas. Over here is your starter button. And oh, by the way, it does have an old-fashioned pull cord. Like when you really want to break your back, you can knock yourself out. But I'll tell you, the way to go is this electronic start button. It has an onboard battery. We'll flip this button on. It will turn on the battery that will power the start. Pretty much you just hold it down for about 2-3 seconds. It'll turn green and it'll fire up. The battery, or the idle control, is pretty much for the gasoline only. This is for when you're putting power tools that has a heavy load. It kind of does some kind of idling and so forth, but that's not going to be doing what we're doing today, so don't worry about that. You also have a breaker. This item will be turned on later in the process. Over here on the left corner is going to be a little gas tank. Pretty much you're going to have a digital gas meter. When the gasoline's full, it's a full tank. It's little bars. When it gets low, you're running out of gasoline. Over here on the bottom right, there's going to be a little like a plug. And that's the first thing you're going to see right off the bat. The more these little power bars go up, the more of a surge or a load. I've just found out recently, each bar, there's 5 bars. When you get 5 bars, it's at maximum. Each bar is going to represent 2,000 watts. So when you add a refrigerator, AC, whatever, each bar is representing 2,000 watts. The first negative is that it doesn't tell you in numbers how many watts you're running in this thing. So if you got 3,700 watts going through the generator, it's not going to give you that information. It's just going to go by these power bars. That's what it is. It does not have a toggle switch where you can switch back and forth. It's just a cycle of information. The other 2 things that it does also is it gives you a total count of how long you've been running the total unit, like an odometer. Also, every time you run this thing, it will tell you a count. Like you've been running for an hour, it'll say an hour. You've been running for 2 hours, 2 hours. And of course, those 2 hours will add on to the overall time. But again, I'm going to run it later for a few minutes. You're probably wondering how loud this thing is. Well, it's like your neighbor power washing for 3 days straight. It's your typical engine sound. 2 things that you're going to need to run this generator is going to be a gas hose and a electric cable or cord. Those 2 cords or hoses are going to have to be connected to this generator to work all the time. First thing we're going to do, we're going to add our natural gas hose to the generator to my natural gas meter that's in the back of my house. Then we're going to add the electric, or what do you call it, a cable to the generator to my 50 amp plug that is wired into my electrical panel. So just for your newbies, let me show you how to get that connected. When you buy your generator, it does come with a 16-foot natural gas line. It also comes with the quick connectors for, of course, the meter, and of course over there by the generator. I was asking my question, or asking myself, does it come with these adapters? And they do. I also had to purchase this hose. This is a 30-foot gas line that I got on Amazon because 16 feet is not long enough. So I will have 46 feet. That'll get me from my meter all the way over there under the breezeway. This generator is not made to be out in the elements. It's not for snow. It's not going to be in the rain. So there's going to be a time you're going to have to get this out of the rain, or it's had to be covered. Of course, it has to be safety. It has to be enough airflow. Let's hook this up. Let me just show you, for people who don't know how this works. This is a quick release, and what this is it's pretty much you just snap it in, and it snaps in, no tools or anything like that. So let me get this leveled out. You get your hose, take this off, take this off. You're gonna pull this back, snap it in, give it a tug, you're ready to go. Guess what? You just now learned how to connect your gas hose. So also we're gonna do it to the generator. I apologize for the earthquake videos. Let's see, right here, boom. Same thing. Pull this cap off right here. This is the quick release. Pull this back, put it in there, snap, or let it snap. Give it a little tug. Little safety tip. When you connect this into the generator, make sure you do a safety test. It's the old soap and water in the bowl. Throw some water around these joints right here. When the gas is flowing, if you see any bubbles right here, that's not good. You need to retighten this and so forth. So right now this thing is not alive. It's still idle. There's no power, no nothing, but you do have your gas line hooked up to it. So let's hook up the electrical one. So you come over here, prop this right here, boom, 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 boom. You pull this little lifter up here. This little silver part right here slides into this silver part. Twist it, pull. Guess what? You've now hooked up your electrical. As you can see, there's a green LED. That will illuminate when there's power. Also, this cord is 25 feet long. It is a 6 gauge, 50 amp cord. Obviously, we got it on our plug over here. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the generator. We're gonna take this cap off like this, put this right here, plug it in. Congratulations. This is gonna always be your setup all the time. You're gonna have to have electricity and gas to this gas generator. Gas, propane, and natural gas. Now you see my electrical panel that is in the garage. I have a main panel of all my breakers for my house, and also a sub panel. This breaker right here is the main breaker that runs them all. Imagine the power going out. The electricity from the telephone or the electrical pole is dead. So this breaker is dead. There's no power going to your breakers. Later on, we'll turn this off, and these breakers right there are the brand new 50 amp that's going to power the plug outside that we put our electrical cable onto. This is an interlock. This is now coded. You cannot have a panel without this. This prevents you to turn on this main breaker and turn on your generator breaker. If you didn't have this, if both breakers were on, your generator would start running electricity and backflow back up to the telephone pole or electrical pole and probably kill somebody. This device will prevent that. You'll never be able to turn on your main breaker and the generator breaker. One is going to always be off and on. So later on, we're going to turn off these breakers. And a little tip, just remember load and surges. Okay, a moment of truth. I apologize. I may have to run after my dog. Our little doggy gate is open and I don't want him to run away. So here's the thing. We're going to set this to natural gas, and it is. We're going to set this to select fuel type, to natural gas. Oh, by the way, this generator does have a carbon monoxide alarm system. If it detects that there's carbon monoxide around the generator and it's not safe, it'll shut itself down, and there's a little LED light. So make sure you put this thing in an open, ventilated area. So we got the select gas type, select fuel type. Again, this thing has an onboard battery, so you have to turn on the battery. We've just turned it on. Now you can use this electronic starter. I already explained to you. We're gonna hold it for 2-3 seconds. It turns green, it will turn over. Here's an important thing. When you're using the electronic starter, there is no choke or throttle control. It's automatic. So if it's gonna turn over, and if it doesn't fire up, wait a few seconds, don't press the button, it's gonna restart itself again. It'll keep on turning itself over and over till it gets fuel. I'm gonna show you one important tip to eliminate that whole get in fuel. This is a ball joint. Obviously, I put this little red line. There's no gas flowing through until I do this. Now the gas is flowing. If you could see it in red, if the red straight, it's flowing gas. To get this generator to start on the first time, I would give you a few minutes of having the natural gas pressurize this hose. Just a few minutes, let it get this fuel to the generator. I'm assuming that that natural gas is building up pressure. So it's kind of waiting for the engine to turn on. So give it a few minutes, we'll get enough gas to come through, and I'm almost guaranteed when I press this start button right here, it should fire up. Now it is loud. My plan is I'm going to turn on my AC unit, my kitchen refrigerator, and my deep freezer in the garage. Now after it starts running, we're gonna go back to the garage, turn all the breakers off in sequence. After everything's turned off, we'll come over here and we'll turn this breaker on, and then we'll turn the individual breakers on. So, moment of truth, guys. We got the fuel going, batteries on. Here we go. Into the garage. Again, we're gonna let that run for about maybe a good 5 minutes. While that's running, another tip. We're gonna turn all these individual breakers off one at a time. Now, why am I turning these off? The one thing you want to do is when you turn on your breaker to the generator, you don't want to have a heavy surge or a heavy load onto your generator. I'll explain that later. So we turned off all the breakers. You don't want to have a heavy load going onto that generator. There is still power going into the electrical panel because I haven't turned off the main breaker until right now. I'm turning off the main breaker. We slide this over. Now we can safely turn on the generator breaker. This light is still off. And I can assume that the light over here in this plug is off. Before I walk over there to the generator, it's pretty loud. I'm gonna turn on the breaker on the generator. This light should come on and the light to my panel should be on. That means we're getting power. As you can see, there is a little electrical thing. I'm gonna add on my AC and refrigerator. You'll start seeing some power bars. The information that you're seeing right now, that's the time it's running, 3 minutes. This is also, it's been running for 8 hours total. And here is the voltage, about 241 volts. flashing, I mean there's electricity. Well, it's not flashing, it's my video doing it. The light is green. And also, as you can tell, my green LED. Now the panel is being powered by my generator. I'm gonna add my air conditioner, refrigerator, and deep freezer. Just to let you know, I'm pretty far away so you can hear me. I don't know if you can see that. My 4-ton AC unit is running. As you can see, 2, 4, 6. That's 6,000 watts right now. And like I said, it is running. Wow. Well, mission accomplished. It's a little noisy, it's a little loud, but I was able to run my 4-ton AC unit with my refrigerator that's in my kitchen. Also, I have a mini split air conditioner in our small office, and also the deep freezer that is in our garage that also has some other plugs. And if you couldn't hear me, you did see the 3 bars. That's 20, 40, it's 6,000 watts. Here's the bottom line. Could it run both my AC units? Yes and no. If you're gonna run both those units at the same time, you literally would have to have everything in your house turned off. It's a little it's TV, YouTube-ish. They tell you, oh, we can run it. But it's putting an incredible strain on your generator. Here's another tip also. My electrical panel, obviously I've been repeating it, is in my garage. I had a professional, well not a professional, electrician, licensed electrician. And we kind of had a little disagreement. Everybody told me to put this plug right next to the panel because it's less hardware, less materials. But what I told him was, look, I want you to run that wire up into the rafters. There's the black one, all the way through. I took this piece of sheetrock out. There's nothing there, is a void, and then put that plug right here. Remember I told you that you're going to have these 2 lines hooked up to your generator. I've had friends who have their meter or their electrical panel in the back of the garage, and then they put the plug back there. Now you got to remember this. Why are you using your generator in the first place? There's no power. And why there's no power? Probably based on a storm. This thing is not light. With physics, first of all, it's about 200 pounds. You put the wheels on it and you lift it up. It's a good 70, 75 pounds. And if you're rolling this, my friends, some of them, they got to roll their generator through the wet grass, because remember, it's been raining, it's a storm, it's flood. You're running this expensive generator through the grass because the bottom line is their cables and gas lines couldn't reach from the back of the garage. My suggestion is to make sure, if you can, put this plug near an area that is accessible. Sometimes you can't, but I wouldn't want to be moving this thing out in the grass after a storm. I picked the patio, and like I said, if it rains, I have enough length to push it under the breezeway. It still has plenty of air, but that's one of the tips. Just make sure that if you can put this plug in a feasible area, because you got to remember this too. This is for your family. It may not just be us guys and even some women that can do this. You may be at work. You may not even be here. Could your children, your spouse, be able to get this connected? You don't want them in the back of the garage. Try to have it somewhere. Kind of like, ask yourself, where do you put your barbecue pit? You don't barbecue in the back of your garage. Put it somewhere where it's accessible. Because you can't run both units of your AC or this is the bread and butter. Start identifying your breakers in your breaker box. Do a practice run. That means practice. I mean, like kind of like a fire drill. This is the time now when it's a beautiful day, no rain, no hurricane. This is the time to start hooking it up. You know, what breakers do you want to run during an emergency situation? Like I said, I had my deep freezer, my refrigerator. Oh, by the way, I'm repeating myself. That 4-ton unit was probably pushing about itself, probably over 2,000 watts. This is the one thing I don't think you understand. On the electrical panel, you have to power the unit outside. Also, it has a breaker. You also have to turn on the blower that's inside your house. That's another breaker. So just the idea, oh, I'm just gonna run the AC out here. No, you also have to run your blower that's inside the house. So you've got 2 heavy load wattage things going. That's probably why it was indicating 6,000 watts or even more. So, but here's the thing. Do your breaker list, check individual breakers, see what are the most important things that you can turn on during your outage. But other than that, that's it, folks. I hope this was a little information. I might have missed a lot of, maybe not have answered all your questions, but overall, I think this is a good product. Hey, look, it's, what do you call it? It's 2, maybe 3 car payments, depending on what kind of car. Or it's probably a little bit cheaper than going to Disney World if you've got a family of 4. It's not cheap, but it's not overly expensive. But again, for the safety of your family, your animals, your dog, and like I said, born and raised in Houston, it was 105, 108 outside, and it was 97 degrees for 7 straight days. It was the pits. I think this unit will be able to make our needs better. You know, if you can run the AC, that is a primary thing. And your refrigerator, keep your food, you know, clean, and you don't have to throw it out. Well, thank you very much for taking the time, looking at the video. The bottom line is, maybe a year from now, I'll make another video and tell you, hey, it's been a year, I've used it this amount of times, and this is what it's doing, this is what not doing. You and your families stay safe, stay healthy, and be happy, and we'll catch you on the flip side.